today marks 40 years of Zimbabwean independence. When our military coup took place, the African Union sent their most senior person to Zimbabwe, who came, looked around, went back to Addis Ababa, and proclaimed there was no coup. Indeed, some of our own opposition leaders proclaimed the coup as divine intervention. And perhaps, tired of old man Robert Mugabe with his ranting, fist-waving insults, the destruction of a country, perhaps the world decided to look away and accept, or rather the continent decided to look away and accept that change had occurred and we had a de facto government in Zimbabwe. The South African Minister of Defense was bold enough to say to the generals, if this is not a coup, then what is it? I want to talk about solidarity today. I want to talk about the solidarity between liberation movements and former liberation movement political parties that allow them to look the other way in the face of injustice and constitutional behavior that continues to hold back our people, our prosperity, and our development. Should our solidarity not longer be with the fact that we fought alongside each other and now be with the people that we fought so hard to liberate? You see, when you have an errant leader and an errant government in the region or on the continent, from time to time, yes, you can build a bridge. You can build a Kazungula bridge to go around the problem that the government poses. But you can't build a bridge against COVID-19. You can't put up a fence against the pandemic. In a multilateral and globalized world, more and more we need to appreciate that the lack of governance in one country becomes a threat to the entire continent. It holds us back, it does not help us go forward, and when we see soldiers beating up a journalist for alerting us to an insurgency in northern Mozambique and we look away, we are simply holding ourselves back. What do you do when, because of poor governance, willful misgovernance, the healthcare system in one of our countries is such that it poses a threat to regional security? What do you do? Should we not begin to call each other out publicly? Institute a new culture of holding each other accountable so that nobody gets used to the impunity that has marked over 60 years of African independence. It is true, with peer review mechanism, with NEPAD, we began to see a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of a chance in the African Renaissance. But with the military coup in Zimbabwe, we have seen that we have not made the progress that we so desperately sought to make. We have seen soldiers going into the streets and shooting people in broad daylight with no consequences. After 40 years of independence, Zimbabwe should be at the cutting edge of solar technology. We should be leaders in research on drought-resistant crops. And we could be doing so many other things as a result of investment in research and development, instead of the theft, the wanton theft of our finances and the illicit financial flows that continue to leave our continent on a daily basis. We need to take this moment as a teachable moment to understand that tomorrow we might face a much bigger threat which we will be unable to handle simply because we allowed 1 or 2 countries, 3 or 4 countries, to continue with their misgovernance in the name of solidarity between liberation movement parties. We need to begin to take our people, our future, and our continent in a more serious light And we need to demonstrate this by not only strategically thinking about what our next 50 years, our next 100 years look like, but also actively holding to account those countries and those governments on our continent that would seek willfully to stop us from attaining those goals. Africa will rise, of that I have no doubt, but it will rise that much faster if we begin to demonstrate solidarity with the people that we fought hard to liberate onto the path of dignity, prosperity, and a renewed culture of solidarity.